A world on fire. Temperatures surge globally. The world is heating up. Global temperatures are rising at an alarming rate. This rise is due to human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels. As we burn coal, oil, and gas, we release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat and cause the planet to warm. The consequences of this warming are already being felt around the world. We are seeing more extreme weather events, such as heat waves, droughts, floods, and wildfires. Sea levels are rising and ice caps are melting. These changes are having a profound impact on human societies and ecosystems. The year 2023 was the hottest year on record, and 2024 is on track to be even hotter. Heat waves are becoming more frequent, more intense, and longer lasting. These extreme heat events are a major threat to human health, particularly in developing countries like India, where access to cooling infrastructure is limited. India's struggle, scorching heat and disrupted lives. India, a nation of over 1.3 billion people, is facing the brunt of climate change's fury. The country is experiencing its worst heat wave in decades, with temperatures soaring well above 110 degrees Fahrenheit in some areas. This unrelenting heat is disrupting daily life, straining infrastructure, and posing severe risks to human health. Millions of Indians, especially those in rural areas, rely on agriculture for their livelihoods. The scorching heat is withering crops, drying up rivers, and pushing farmers to the brink. The lack of access to reliable electricity in many parts of the country further exacerbates the situation, making it difficult for people to find respite from the oppressive heat. The heat wave is also impacting India's energy grid, leading to widespread power outages. Hospitals are overflowing with patients suffering from heat stroke and dehydration. Schools have been forced to close, and outdoor work has come to a standstill during the hottest hours of the day. The situation is a stark reminder of the immediate human cost of climate change. A global challenge. Heat waves beyond borders. India is not alone in its struggle against extreme heat. Heat waves are impacting countries around the world, from the American Southwest to Europe to China. In 2022, Europe experienced its hottest summer on record, with wildfires raging across the continent and thousands of heat-related deaths reported. The increasing frequency and intensity of heat waves are pushing the limits of human adaptability. Cities, designed for cooler climates, are struggling to cope with the heat. Urban heat islands, where temperatures are significantly higher than surrounding areas, are becoming increasingly common. This is particularly dangerous for vulnerable populations, such as the elderly and those with pre-existing health conditions. The global nature of the heatwave crisis underscores the need for international cooperation to address climate change. Developed nations, which bear the historical responsibility for greenhouse gas emissions, have a moral obligation to assist developing countries in adapting to the impacts of climate change. Section 4. Economic impacts. The cost of extreme heat. The economic toll of extreme heat is substantial and wide-ranging. Heat waves can disrupt agricultural production, strain energy grids, damage infrastructure, and reduce worker productivity. The World Bank estimates that heat waves could cost India up to 4.5% of its GDP by 2030. The agricultural sector, a cornerstone of the Indian economy, is particularly vulnerable to heat stress. Extreme heat can reduce crop yields, lower livestock productivity, and increase the prevalence of pests and diseases. This can lead to food shortages, price spikes, and economic hardship for millions of farmers and their families. The impact of heat waves on the energy sector is also significant. As temperatures rise, demand for electricity for cooling surges, putting immense pressure on power grids. This can lead to blackouts and brownouts, disrupting businesses and causing economic losses. The need to invest in more resilient energy infrastructure to cope with extreme heat is becoming increasingly urgent. Section 5. The human cost, health, displacement, and inequality. The human cost of heat waves is immeasurable, leading to heat stroke, dehydration, respiratory problems, and cardiovascular failure. The elderly, children, pregnant women, and those with pre-existing health conditions are particularly vulnerable. The World Health Organization estimates that heat waves caused over 166,000 deaths globally between 1998 and 2017. Extreme heat can exacerbate existing inequalities. People living in poverty, often lacking access to adequate housing, healthcare, and cooling facilities, are disproportionately affected by heat waves. The urban poor, living in densely populated slums with limited green spaces, are particularly at risk from the urban heat island effect. Heat waves can also lead to displacement and migration. As areas become uninhabitable due to extreme heat and water scarcity, people are forced to leave their homes and livelihoods behind in search of safer and more hospitable environments. This can lead to social and economic upheaval, as well as increased competition for resources. Section 6. Adapting to a hotter world. Strategies for resilience. Adapting to a hotter world requires a multi-pronged approach that includes both short-term measures to cope with heat waves and long-term strategies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate climate change. Building heat-resilient cities, improving public health infrastructure, and promoting sustainable agriculture are crucial steps in this direction. Cities can reduce the urban heat island effect by increasing green spaces, planting trees, and using cool pavements and roofs. Early warning systems for heat waves, coupled with public awareness campaigns about heat safety, can help save lives. Providing access to cooling centers and ensuring equitable access to water are essential for protecting vulnerable populations. Investing in climate-resilient agriculture is crucial. This includes developing drought-resistant crops, improving water management techniques, and providing farmers with access to weather information and financial support to cope with climate risks. Section 7. Global action, local solutions, a call for collective action. Addressing the global heatwave crisis requires collective action at all levels, from international agreements to individual choices. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions through a rapid transition to renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, and promoting sustainable transportation are critical steps. International cooperation is essential to provide financial and technological support to developing countries to help them adapt to the impacts of climate change. The Paris Agreement, which aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, provides a framework for global action. However, individual actions also matter. Reducing our carbon footprint by adopting sustainable lifestyles, conserving energy, and advocating for policy changes can make a difference. The fight against climate change is a shared responsibility, and every effort, no matter how small, counts.